Old Joe Biden. Can I go a day without being disappointed with Joe Biden? Please. I just wake up in the morning and I ask myself, please. Refugee groups and Democrats blast Biden's harsh message to migrants. It is legal under international and U.S. law for those fleeing their home country to ask for asylum at a port of entry, no matter how they enter the country. Legal under international and U.S. law. This is when has that stopped the country? When has that stopped our country from ever doing anything? We don't care about legal or illegal. The country we're talking about that committed torture, waged illegal wars. We don't care about international law. But President Joe Biden is facing a backlash for repeating his administration's admonition that immigrants and asylum seekers should not attempt to enter the U.S. They should not come, Biden said at a CNN town hall style meeting Thursday, echoing Kamala Harris told migrants during a trip to Guatemala last month. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas repeated the message to Haitians and Cubans earlier this month, just days after Haiti's president was assassinated and Cubans staged the largest anti-government protests in decades. So he's telling Haitians and Cubans who are in the midst of extreme turmoil in their countries, the people that may need asylum the most, the families that may need asylum the most, that not to come directly. So, of course, as they should, refugee groups blasted the administration for what they say is insensitive, ineffective, and misleading message. It is legal under international and U.S. law for those fleeing their home country to ask for asylum at a port of entry, no matter how they enter the country. President Biden promised to build a fair and humane immigration system, and by denying people full access to asylum, he's breaking that promise. Seeking asylum is a legal right and a human right, that Denise Bell said, researcher for refugee and migrant rights at Amnesty International USA. In this, she is absolutely right. In his CNN appearance, Biden described his administration's intention to set up a system for migrants and asylum seekers from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala to apply for asylum from their home countries, but immigration advocates said that plan on its own isn't practical. You can't say you're going to create a fair and compassionate system and then tell people that they can't actually access safety. You can't trap them when their house is on fire, which is effectively what they're doing when they say don't come. That is a very, very amazing analogy, one I like very much. Seeking asylum is illegal and human rights. Since when has the U.S. government cared about legal and human rights? Biden does not care about that stuff. Setting up a system where they can apply from a war-torn country where they may or may not be fleeing for their lives with their families and nothing on their back but their clothes? And are you supposed to stop at the U.S. embassy as your town or your city is being bombed or invaded by insurgents or burnt to the ground, and you're just supposed to stop there real quick and fill out some forms, wait 3 to 5 weeks, get another return form, reapply. Don't I know how red tape in America is ridiculous. How this is the same man who wanted to say something to Texas about DACA, and he was right about that in that case, but he's not doing anything to actually change the laws, and he's actively working against it. Don't come here? How disgusting is that? This land was built on immigrants. We actually have America actually has a very strong history of accepting immigrants. After World War II, we accepted 350,000 people into the country. Now, did we treat these people very well? No, not at all. We didn't. These immigrants were treated very poorly, but we accepted them into the country. At least we gave them a place to run when their country was bombed. They were running from Hitler from the Nazis, and we gave him a place to go. After Vietnam, after we left Vietnam war torn and pulled out and left that unwinnable war as we would Afghanistan, 130,000 Vietnamese would come to America. 1980, 1980s would be a peak year. It'd be 207,000 people, because that was when people were fleeing from Russia and like communist countries. So anybody that was anti-communist was considered a win in the propaganda book. And then kind of tapered off, but ever since in the 80s it was big insurgents, but then ever since the 90s it tapered off to about 100,000 people per year. And that was just something that was great about America, that you could come and get asylum and work your way, and no, you're doing it you're doing it legally, coming by port. So they so at this point, we either let them in the country, or they're getting stuck at the borders. So when they're trying to gain asylum, they're getting stuck at the borders where the the treatment is inhumane. They don't have the living conditions or the health care to take care of these people, or they go to their war torn nation and die. Um, you sit there with your Biden sits there with his platitudes and cliches, and how he stands with the Cuban people, and he stands with Haiti, and he stands. You are standing like this. That's really how I see it, Joe Biden. You aren't standing for anything. Because if you would take a stand. Instead, you're just flipping these people the bird, and you're basically telling them, well, I want to help, but yeah, don't come here. Can't help you here. I stand with you. I get your plight, but and this is just as bad as Trump, because at least after George W. Bush and after 9/11, the it completely the asylum status was non-existent. Obama brought it back, then Trump took it way back down again. Um, of course, coronavirus didn't help with immigrants coming into the country. But now Biden has a chance to redeem himself and bring it back up at least to its natural numbers of about 100,000 a year, and he's refusing to again. He's refusing he's refusing to work for the left. He's refusing to be a progressive. He's refusing to be a decent human being. And all these comparisons to Trump, how he's not Trump, I don't see much of a difference.